Hello, all of you wonderful people out there in podcast land. Welcome to another exciting episode of Black and White Reviews.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great intro.
Yeah, my
Compared
name
to
is
last time.
My name is Chuck.
My name is Lee.
My name is Will.
And today we are tonight, at this moment in time, we are talking about Season 2, Episode 9, the season finale of Episode 2 of Stranger Things.
Entitled The Gate.
Yes. Very, properly titled.
Yeah,
of course.
I would say so.
Properly
I would say
titled.
so. For the
Better
way
than Ninth Gate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I would say for the way that this episode wraps things up is very, very appropriately titled. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the way it wraps things up has nothing to do with the gate. The last 15 minutes of this show have nothing to do with the gate. To be honest,
really,
the way
no.
they wrapped this up, this could have been a series finale versus a season finale. But either way, I loved this episode.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Episode
What-
8 was still my favorite, but I still loved this episode. This episode was fantastic.
What about it did you love?
If
If you could pick out like one thing that you like really loved about this episode, what would it be?
Hop regained my respect in this episode.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
Hop regained my respect in every aspect in this episode. When everything comes out and he does what he does,
Yeah.
I was like, there he is.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I like Steve. I think Steve was great.
I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this because I've been holding my tongue for so long, and I'm glad that you're finally starting to like. I'll save my thing for when my turn is. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I think Steve redeemed himself. This episode, for characters that you were like about, it redeemed a lot of those people.
Mm-hmm.
The character of Will, it is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Okay.
My heart breaks for Dustin. Let me tell you, my heart like goes out for Dustin at the end of this episode. He's still one of my favorite characters.
Okay.
I think his hair is amazing at the end of this episode. It's fantastic.
Use the Farrah Fawcett spray.
Yes, he
But
does.
way more than 4 puffs.
Way more.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, yeah, I just how they handled everything, how everything went about. Winona Ryder still can't cry. I don't understand why, craziness happens to her.
Gotcha.
It just doesn't happen. But my favorite part is the fact that, like I'll say it again, Hop redeemed himself, and all the respect that I was losing for Hop, he has gained back from one scene and one scene alone, and I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it.
He has a
So-
couple of really powerful scenes in this episode that we will definitely talk
Huge.
about later on. But I agree. I
Huge.
I do
Um,
like, and without getting too spoiler specific about this episode, I love that you had to see him at like that low where he like locks 11 in and he's being arrogant about it and he's just being an overall jerk about everything. Like you have to experience that low for this to be as impactful as it was. And I
And it
agree.
hits home.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it hits.
It hits home perfect.
It hits for a lot of different reasons. It hits.
Yeah.
Okay.
You actually you connect with the characters in the scene. It picks up right where the last episode ended, basically.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
But it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. The writers of this show are brilliant. The portrayal of each character is phenomenal. I know you had a shift with Nancy a couple episodes back because of what she does.
Mm-hmm.
She is growing on me.
Okay.
There are things that she's doing that she's growing on me, and so I'm gaining respect for her as well too. And then the wowness of 11 in this was just fantastic. It was amazing. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and Max is a shining star in this episode, and I love it.
You don't see it coming.
I love it.
I did not see it coming. When I first went through the series and I got to this point, I was like, "What? Okay,
what?
Max is all right. Go Max.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
She's
And
really cool. I really like Max. She's really, really cool, especially in this episode.
yes, and I'm seeing more and more what you're saying about there's so much growth in every character aside from like Will.
Yeah.
Will's just stuck in episode 1, season 1.
Right.
Everybody else is so much further along now. And even Max, who was introduced at the beginning of this season, has had more growth in this season than Will has had in 2 seasons.
I don't want to get
And
too
it's
ahead of
fantastic.
myself. And I promise that I'm going to keep this conversation to this episode. But I did go a little bit into season 3.
Again, yeah.
Will is
The same.
oh god,
Yeah.
like it's cringeworthy. It's
I'd even dare
bad.
say into season 4. Like, let's not expect Will to
it's
really grow.
bad. It's
Like
bad.
he's a character that they just never really
I don't understand.
found a way to
You have-
write him back.
Do you think it was purposeful?
I
No,
don't know.
I feel
I
like
have
they
no
just
idea.
didn't know how to do it.
Yeah,
They did not know how to how to resurrect him. Like
I
he
don't-
was Zombie Boy, but they couldn't officially resurrect him after that.
Right.
You have
And
all the.
it's
I think what
so don't
infuriates
get your
me.
hopes up.
I think the most infuriating thing with me about Will is probably like you have all of the opportunity in the world to turn this into an amazing character because of everything that he's been through, and it's just like, well, no.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this because I'm hopeful because they haven't really let us down with all the other characters. I'm hopeful that in season 5, the final season, that they will find a way to redeem Will in that. I'm hopeful that they will because they have to, because it's just like what a way to like. I'll say this: the actor himself, Noel Snap, I think his name was Noel Snap, Schnapp, whatever. He is just Noah Schnapp. If they don't give him a redeeming part in this final season, the end, his career might not go anywhere, like at all. They have to give him something. They have to give him something because the last time I saw him, it was just like, I hate to say it,
Well,
but pathetic.
I don't know.
It was pathetic.
It is. It's
'cause
pretty.
in
It's
season
pretty
4,
pathetic.
it's pathetic.
Yeah, but him as Will, there's no.
Let
growth.
me. I have to pick it back on something that Lee just said. I don't have a problem with what they do with the character. I have a problem with what he does.
Yeah.
The tears. And like I just sorry,
Yeah,
Chuck.
it's
Sorry,
just-
Chuck.
it's
It's so like, oh god, dude, really? Like you had a demon in you. You were coughing up alien creatures. But this is okay. I'm sorry, Chuck. Okay. Anyways,
No, you're fine.
I'm not gonna talk
We'll
about it.
we'll
but
get
yeah,
there
I'm
when
not.
we get there.
I'm not. My hopes are not high for Will at all going into season 5. They're not. There's only one thing that they could do to resurrect this character, and that's use his experiences to somehow make him stronger than 11. That's the only thing they
Yeah.
could possibly do with this character.
Or
to
as strong.
redeem him. Or
Yeah.
as strong.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
You've been to Demon World, you've been coughing up these things, you're somehow attached to what's going on the other side of this thing, you have all the possibilities in the world to turn this around. That's the only thing in my mind that they could do, is completely
Absolutely.
flip the script and turn him into something is equal to or more powerful than 11. That's the only thing that
If
they
they
can do at
don't-
this point.
If they don't, then Noah Schnapp is going nowhere.
They
I'm
should
sorry,
make it.
but-
They should make it where he can only exist in the Upside Down.
Meh.
So he just dies and he just goes into
he's
the
not
upside
dead.
down.
Meh.
He's
Eh.
not dead.
Yeah.
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 I completely 100%.
So this
agree with Will.
episode, back to it for a moment. This episode, I think all three of us are in agreement with our feelings on Will. So let's just leave that on the back burner where it belongs right now.
Yeah.
I think the actor, his portrayal of what's going on inside of him as he's like flipping out is fantastic.
Yeah. Catatonic, shell shock, the whole thing. Yeah, he's
Let me go.
yeah.
Let me
But
go.
him as Will without any issues is bleh.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I mean, this episode is you've got three different teams. Basically, you've got the team that's watching Will, you've got the team that's going to distract all the demo dogs, and then you've got you've got Hopper and 11. Those are the three teams that you're following here. And I like that throughout this show, you have teams. You've either got two teams or you've got three teams. It's never just one focus. I mean, you had the thing with 11 going off to, Bon Jovi Town and all that stuff and doing her thing. But like there's also another story going on with other people. So you're never just following one group of people.
Right.
You're always following multiple different stories, and they're all kind of happening simultaneously. And here you've got these three teams that are doing their own thing. And you've got the kids, led by Steve Harrington, who was like King Steve, who's now brought down to like Prince Steve. And he's just like, yeah, kind of not who I was anymore because I got a soft spot with the Farrah Fawcett spray. And now I'm going to babysit these kids. And he tries to babysit them, but I'm going to go. I'm sorry. Am I jumping too far ahead? Were you done, Will, with your part?
I didn't even really. I mean, if you're going now, go now. Go ahead.
Okay, I felt like it was kind of transitioning in. One thing we missed last week was a huge part, and Chuck and I talked about this very briefly. We didn't even talk about Billy and his dad. We did not even touch about Billy at all.
Yeah.
And that's a huge situation. So you've got Billy.
Let's get into that more when we talk about Max.
I mean, we can. But I'm just saying we missed last week.
Right.
So in Billy, his character that we talked about last week, his dad is like a hard guy. Like he's not
imposing.
He's not imposing, but he's
Billy's
tough.
Billy's afraid of the authority. He's not afraid of the person.
Yes. Right. So he's afraid of the authority, but as an authority, he's super strong. His dad is a strong authority.
The thing is,
and justifiably a strong authority.
Even in that situation that we didn't talk about last week with that episode, where they're in the bedroom and go find your sister, blah blah blah, push him up against the thing, smack him around a little bit. If it came to blows, I feel like Billy would easily handle him.
Right.
He's bigger. He's stronger. Come on, just look at look at the guy.
Yeah.
The guy looks like a stiff breeze would knock him over and break his hip.
Possibly, but he held an authority that Billy responded to.
Yeah,
and it was like, whoa. So you see where it's like he sucks it all in, and then blows it up all over Max.
Yeah,
like that's clearly he takes that and goes, I'm gonna take all my aggression that I have against this guy and throw it all over her because this is the authority. It goes down the chain. She gets the beating because he got the beating. It just. Hurt people.
Right.
And that's kind of what they're going here. We never talked about that, and I think that's a huge injustice. So sorry, everybody, for missing that big point. But that's a big deal. But aside from the details of last week, we get more into these characters, as we've all talked about. And I love this episode because I feel like the way they ended this season was not just a finale, but definitely a leading into another season. Even like they never.
I didn't feel that. I felt like it could have been a series finale because they end the episode by accomplishing the goal, and then there's 15 minutes left of the episode or 10 minutes left of the episode where everything kind of just like falls neatly into
except
place.
for the very end where they go upside down.
Yeah.
And see the shadow monster there, like, hey, I'm still after you. Just like they did in the first season where Will's coughing up slugs in the sink.
But that's the only part of it that
The difference
outside of
here,
that-
the difference here is Will is bringing something back with him onto the other side, and you know that it's going to lead into something. Here,
Right.
you know, we get the
You don't
ending,
know
and
how
then
it's
all of
gonna
a sudden,
connect.
Shadow Monster, and it's like, whoa, okay.
Right.
But what you're thinking too is because of what they accomplish, yeah, it's there. It's no longer in our world. We win. So that could still, because their goal wasn't to beat it in the sense of kill it for good. It was to just lock it up.
Lock it up.
Mm.
Exactly.
So they accomplished their goal. 10 minutes left of the episode. Everything falls neatly and nicely into place. They show it back at its home. Season finale, series finale at that point. And to me, because of the way they extended this ending, it felt like a series finale.
Now let's go back to the 80s, you know, when they would have like a horror I mean, most of it's horror that just kind of falls in, you know, like strange sci-fi horror. You know, where could they go with this? If you still see the antagonist or evil character, obviously they're going to keep going.
This
Even
was,
if you don't see them, but know that they're like somehow locked away but still alive, you know they're going to continue going on.
This is what's her name getting dragged through the door at the end of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Exactly. I was going to say the Duffer Brothers. I was looking at pictures of the production of this, and you've got the Duffer brother with the longer hair, and he's wearing a Nightmare on Elm Street shirt, like, you know, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, all I think of is like, clearly they're taking a lot of ideas from this, and at the end, it's like everything's good. Oh, they're all getting in the car. See you later, kids. And then, you know, the soft cover comes over and it's striped like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And then she gets dragged in like the cheap, like stupid looking, you know, blow up doll through the window at 1428.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, here we go. Here's what we're
Yeah.
going to see here. And that's what they've done here. So the first season was very much more like
Jason's mask getting pulled
E.T.
into the grave.
Oh yeah, in Freddy,
Yeah.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
You know, getting pulled up through the dirt, which was leading into Freddy versus Jason, which came out. Let me see, Jason Goes to Hell must have been like 96, to my guess, and then Freddy versus Jason wasn't until like 2001, 2002,
Somewhere in there.
many years later. But yeah, like leading up to it, and it's like we know we're gonna get something more. So here, it's very much falling under the 1984, which I think was the year that Freddy first came out. Like they're kind of going along with that, so they're making it obvious that they're going to keep going. I don't see it as like they could have ended it here. I mean, they could have if they didn't have that final scene. Maybe they're at the snowball, everything's fun. Look, she's wearing makeup and she's in a dress. Cool. But then flip it upside down, big shadow monster. Where are they going to go with it? I know where they're going to go with it, but I will say this. You got the character Billy. I can't pronounce the guy's name. Hackray? Dacray?
Not even
Montgomery?
Gonna try.
Yeah, I gotta hear it. The one who was, you know, Jason and Power Rangers.
Yep.
He shows up, leather jacket open. Hey, after she was reading the book that we gave Mark, you know, at the grocery store, just, you know, this ridiculous, like, graphic romance novel, and he shows up, young dude. Hey, didn't know Nancy had a sister. Like, totally just going with it. And I start to wonder, like, was he just like really hitting on her or trying to get information? I feel like it was just like he was just being him, and he really was just hitting on her. I don't know.
We'll
But
talk about that in spoiler territory.
Yeah, okay. So we're not there yet.
No.
No.
True. But it was like Billy's character in this, he's on a mission because he's been threatened by his dad. So what's his plan? What's he going to do? Right? He's just going to do it. And when you hear that his goal at the last episode is to find her, you're afraid for her. You're like, what's he going to do to her? and his friend and her friends. And we get that here.
Right.
So
Will, your thoughts?
I love this episode. I think it's a fantastic finale. I'm really glad, Chuck, that you opened up with saying that, Steve is coming around on you, because I've been waiting since Steve cleaned up the paint at the movie theater to say, I love this character. I love Steve Harrington. He's probably my second favorite character on the show, right behind Hop. And you're building up to what happens in this episode, and it's pulled off amazing. Like, this whole past season, from that point till now, like, his character growth has been fantastic. And I think I figured out why. I think it's like the little kid in all of us want that for, like, a big brother. Like, that's the figure that, like, every little kid inside all of us, like, looks at. And I think it's fantastic that they were able to do that with a character like that, especially bringing where he was, having a couple of friends who were just jerks and just wanting nothing more than to get into Nancy's pants, blah, 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 and to have this full 180, like, character swing and, like, do what he does here and even previously, I think is fantastic. I'm on board with you also about Hop. It's definitely a redemption. There's still work to be done, but it's definitely a redemption. And yeah, there's not really a whole lot I want to say, like, in the non-spoiler territory when I'm talking about this episode. Everything that I want to talk about is pretty, like, I want to pinpoint certain things and kind of talk about it for a little bit. But by and large, I think the finale, all the finales of this show do a really good job at not only tying a neat bow on everything, but setting you up for the next season, with one exception that we're not even anywhere near talking about yet. And that happened here. Like, yeah, things are great, but there's still this thing that's kind of like looming in the background that, right, eventually is going to have to be taken care of. But yeah, and that's
cool.
Those are my thoughts.
Well, since you don't have much to talk about outside of spoiler territory, let's get right into the spoiler territory. So for the rest of this conversation, find us on patreon.com/blackandwhitereviews. Audio will always be free on the podcast, but all video and the rest of this conversation will be done on patreon.com. With that said, yeah, let's start off with Hop.